Welcome to another broadcast of YOUnique, Life Starring You on the Artist First Radio Network. All past shows are archived. You can pick them up at artistfirst.com. And now here she is. It's the lovely Susan Stackpole.
YOUnique, Life Starring You. We are what we are because of you, and we thank you so much for your excellent support. We have a special project we do here called Pray It Forward, and studies show our internal vibration affects our external environment. And so we just ask that during the moments and days and weeks and months ahead, you just take some time and just take some deep breaths, send yourself and the world around you loving thoughts, do even the quickest meditation and say even the simplest prayers, and we believe that this blesses you and us and the world, and we thank you so very much. We have an amazing woman with us today, and I'll share more about her, and then we'll bring her in. Her name is Courtney Amundson, and she's an author, channeler, composer, musician, spiritual teacher, and so much more. Courtney, in her early youth, discovered she is a spiritual seeker, and she, at age 16, began experiencing immense awareness, having divine teachings completely and lovingly flow. Courtney received for herself channeled messages offering spiritual guidance and was eventually prompted authoring her first book, sharing the profound insights, Teachings from God. Courtney, along with advancing her teaching, is actively progressing her Qigong healing certification process. She has already completed Spring Forest Qigong levels 1 through 4 and craniosacral therapy level 1. Courtney is also an immensely talented classically trained violinist, kirtan performer, singer-songwriter, and more. She is on multiple instruments and vocally in a new, more freely flowing expression, engaging her musical passion. Courtney's tremendous spiritual insight gives her tools to create an exciting life, and more than anything, she desires inspiring others doing the same. Please, for more information, visit Courtney's website at www.courtneyamundson.com, and that's COURTNEYAMUNDSON.com. Welcome, Courtney. It's such an honor and pleasure having you with us.
Hey, Susan. You make me sound great.
Well, you are great. You are great. You're fantastic. We're so honored to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. We were just talking off the air. This is our fourth show together, so I always have fun talking with you.
Well, that's very mutual. Very, very mutual. We always have really excellent conversations, so it's always really a joy connecting with you, Courtney.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a great conversation, and hopefully the listeners will enjoy it as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yay. Courtney, perhaps you could share with us where you maybe had the first moment in your youth of having an awareness of a deeper spiritual connection, maybe even more so than your peers.
That's interesting, an interesting question, because, I've pondered this a lot, and I've found, when I think back, I've found moments where I had, these sort of aha moments, like a heightened experience. But I think, to be honest with you, I always felt like an alien here on Earth. I never really felt like I was of this place, and so I think I always had just this feeling like I was connected in other ways that other people weren't, but I didn't have a name for that for a large part of my life. And like a lot of people that I trust and admire, some of that experience was very isolating, and, eventually led me to find different things, like you mentioned, the Qigong, Spring Forest Qigong. That was sort of my earliest experience of finding myself and finding a way to heal myself, finding out how to meditate. And so I started meditating. I was a very sort of anxious child in school and in the world. And so finding Qigong was really powerful for me, and I was 9 years old when I first got introduced to it. So I started meditating around that age, and I would do it every night, and it really, really helped my anxiety, and I felt connected to the angels and to the universe. So I would say that those were some of the earliest memories that I really felt something was really developing and deepening in me in a conscious way.
Oh, that's so profound. And for you, Courtney, when you say meditation, for you, how do you define meditation?
So it's really, I guess, developed over the years. Back in those days, I was doing the guided meditations by my teacher, Master YOUnique, and he has this one meditation called the butterfly meditation, and it's a guided visualization where you center, you bring your energy into the lower dantian, the point deep in behind the navel, and imagine a golden sun there, and imagine any extra energy, any negative emotions, anything that you don't want in your body and your spirit transforming into butterflies and going back to the universe. So I learned from a young age that there's no such thing as good energy and bad energy, just too much energy in the body. So I learned that, if you do have a negative feeling or emotion, just imagining them transforming into butterflies was a powerful way to let it go, and then also, not see something as invading me. But as I grew older, and I started developing from my own spirituality, and then also with Qigong, meditation began to grow into connecting to the universe. So that was around the point in time when I started channeling, and when I wrote Teachings from God, which is a full channel book, as you know. And now more recently, meditation has become about connecting with my physical body. So my personal body and my personal soul. So less going out and more coming in. So it's really kind of interesting how it's kind of grown and transformed over the years. But to put it very simply, meditation for me is about grounding my energy, getting back into my heart and my soul, and bringing myself back to who I am and what I want to be, what I also want to be. Just keeping any of those energies that I don't want part of me at bay.
Right.
There's a lot going on in the world, It's become increasingly more and more important that I really, really do it every single day. So yeah, it's my lifeline right now.
Wow. That's a really strong statement. A really strong statement. Courtney,
what?
Oh, go ahead, please.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I think it's something that I and we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, but something that I think more and more people are feeling that they need to lean on right now.
Absolutely. That is so true. And for you, Courtney, what has been your biggest lesson in terms of you're somebody who's very empathic and intuitive, and you not only process your own energy, you process energy from the people with whom you interact, from the world and things. And more people, I feel, are having that awareness about themselves, that that they're having a similar experience where the energy that they're feeling is more than just what's happening within them. what for you is the most powerful tool that helps you not only navigate, discerning what is your energy and what is not your energy?
Great question. Really great question. And something that I've been struggling with my entire life. I remember, and maybe I mentioned this on your show years ago, but one of my first introductions, to Qigong, one of the first exercises that I was given when I was about 13 years old, I came to the Qigong Center for healing, and I said, I feel everything. Like, I cannot walk through the hallways at school without feeling everyone and everything. So I learned this technique. And it really helped me. And but it wasn't until I really had to go through a lot of really deep suffering. And I know you personally know about my journey in the past couple of years, but for me, it took me a long time to get to the point where I really realized, my personal practice, which is my Qigong practice, has been the most important thing, and I have to become really diligent about that every day in order to manage my physical health, my mental health, and my spiritual connection. And so my mom calls me the what's that metaphor, like the canary in the coal mine. She calls me that because, she says I'm always feeling something before it hits the world. Like, I was going through my dark night of the soul before this pandemic hit. And once the pandemic hit, I started to thrive again. So it was kind of interesting. So personal practice my personal Qigong practice is what keeps my energy within myself. It keeps me grounded and able to filter out the energies around me. And also, and we have this in common, we've talked about this, me and you before, but honoring who you are in the world. If you're the kind of person that is an introvert and needs to have that slow-paced life in order to maintain your well-being, in order to not take on the energy of everything all of the time, you should learn to honor that within yourself. So that's another thing for me. It's like I'm never going to like going out in the world and being an extrovert. So I just, I've come to kind of, I guess, accept that about myself. Kind of a long answer, but yeah, that's
really
where I am
helpful.
with it.
Really, really helpful. And in just a moment, what you said was so important about honoring who you are. And in just a moment, we'll more fully explore that. For people who are maybe just hearing the word Qigong for the first time, what is Qigong? And if you could share maybe specifically how you feel that it, if you have a specific example of something that in the practice that has really helped you, just maybe support people in having a fuller understanding of why Qigong is so powerful.
Sure. So Qi means energy and Gong means to work with. So very simply, Qigong means working with your body's energy. In Spring Forest Qigong, what I grew up learning from my teacher, Master Lin, was really about how to work with your own body's energy, how to work with your own Qi, moving the Qi using your hands and your body. And so it's a kind of beautiful dance between movement, simple breathing movements that anyone can do, literally anyone can do, and visualization, guided visualization. So, for example, like there's this movement called the moving of the yin and the yang, and the whole universe is formed, from the yin and the yang. So it's sort of like bringing that into a more personalized practice, seeing the yin and the yang within your body. So, you can use the visualization, seeing light in your body, and telling your body what you want. So, you can imagine, light in certain parts of the body while you're doing the movements, and in your mind, you're also telling your body what you want it to do. So saying, blockages are completely gone, my body is completely healed. And you focus on different positive emotions with different movements too. So there's one for happiness, there's one for joy, there's one for contentment, there's one for peace and groundedness, there's one for gratitude. Doing all 6 of those in one practice over the course of 30 minutes. If you do that every day, you will notice this immense change in your body, in your emotions, and even spiritually. And I've introduced a lot of people to Spring Force Qigong, and I've made it my life purpose to continue on this path so that I can become a Qigong master, and so that I can help other people to discover it for themselves. So it's all about self-empowerment and about learning that everyone is born a healer. Every single person is born a healer for themselves. So I'm very passionate about it because it's helped me, it's helped my family, it's helped so many people I know. And what I love about it is that it's not focused on one person, it's focused on mirroring the power back to you. And what you find when you do that practice for yourself is that you are the answer, and that your spiritual connection is in your hands, and it's unique to you, and nobody can tell you what that is for you. You have to go inside yourself, and that's my motivation to practice every day, is to feel more empowered within myself, that whatever comes up in my life, I will be able to handle it, and that I can move forward in my life with happiness and peace. So that's my motivation to practice and to spread what I know about it. So yeah, it's an infinite well, that's for sure.
Wow. Thank you for so clearly helping us have a fuller understanding of how powerful of a process it is, and why for you it's so significant, especially with what you said about the positive emotions and things, which is a question I think so many people have right now, right? About this idea of where does true happiness originate, and how can we continually generate that, right? Because we're recognizing, especially recently, that if we're depending on circumstances and situations and things outside of us creating for us positive emotions, it's not very stable ground.
Well, no, it's not. And that's why, that's why I'm learning to rely on the universe. The universe is made up of, unconditional love. So anytime you're doing spiritual practice, this goes for any healing modality, the most powerful ones out there, the ones that are completely legitimate and worth looking into, are the ones that teach you about universal unconditional love, and the ones that teach you that source is limitless. So anytime you need anything, that's where you should be going. So no human being can give you that 100% full, complete healing. And our world doesn't teach that very much. We buy things, we sell things, we look for things in other people. Our Western medical system teaches you that there's these figures that are higher up that know more than you and are going to fix you. And my experience is just that is not true. So it's a pretty intense revelation to, I guess, not just revelation. I mean, I've known this for a long time, but to have to put that into practice is something entirely different. That you are the one to fix your life, to deepen your connection, to fix your body. That's kind of a big thing, but I truly believe that only, that we are the ones to do that.
I feel like that's the lesson so many are currently experiencing, right? Is that many of the coping mechanisms and distractions and busyness that has been in place that in some respects people don't even recognize as being those things have been calmed, have been temporarily paused, all those sorts of things, where people are having an opportunity to have awareness that when those things are fully up and running, they just did not experience. And so what you're sharing about this understanding of the power as we have within ourselves of activating health and happiness and peace and strength and comfort and all of those things is really, really powerful and is really important. I feel us having that awareness, especially now, that our well-being is inside out, not outside in. Again, as you shared, what the world tends to be the common belief in the world. And one of the things for you, Courtney, that is really admirable is you are someone who you actually walk the talk. You actually practice what it is that you believe. And recently, someone and I were having a conversation, and I said, there's so many books and resources and seminars and webinars and all that sort of thing, many of which offer the same information. And it seems the ones that are successful are the ones where people feel inspired and motivated to take action. And so what is something for you, and then what advice would you give people in terms of that took you from a place of just reading about it and studying it and actually applying it in your life?
Okay, we're going to get personal here, which I have no problem with. I share pretty much everything with everyone on the internet, but this is part of what you said about actually touching people's lives, not regurgitating information. That's part of my soul purpose, part of my life purpose, is to share with people that journey, because I've been on a heck of a journey in the past 2 years. And, for people listening, Susan, you already know this, but so I deal with chronic migraines, and it's been a really intense journey for me. So I've been to all the best doctors at the Mayo Clinic, the best headache doctors in the United States. I've been to the best healers. I've tried just about every therapy you can try. And that intense pain and inner suffering that I've had because of this life experience, I'll just call it, that I've had, forced me to put things into practice. Because what I realized when I got to that point of complete and utter desperation, that I just didn't even want to live anymore, it made me realize no one else is living my life for me. Nobody else can take me out of this. In other words, it is up to me. And either I pull up my big girl pants and figure out a way to get myself out of it, or, I didn't know really what the alternative would be. So, this is not some airy-fairy inspirational story about how I became, ultra spiritual or something. It, maybe in the past that's how my story looked, but in the recent years, it's really transformed into a deep, deep surrender and what I believe to be more true, grounded spirituality, which is out of a need to survive, out of a need to transcend some very human things, some very physically and emotionally painful things. And that's how I'm getting there. That's how I'm getting to what I believe is my life's purpose, which is to become a healer. But I will say my revelation this past week, I talked about it in my most recent YouTube video, my most recent vlog, which was the revelation that, my whole life I'm saying, I want to be a healer, I just want to be out in the world and making change and this and that. And I realized I'm not becoming a healer for other people. I'm not becoming a healer for the world. I'm becoming a healer for myself. So that was completely different way of looking at it. I'm becoming a healer because my purpose is to do my practice in front of my candle, alone in my room every day, and feel better. And that means that I'm staying afloat because I'm making that change in my life. And I'm not doing it to become inspirational anymore. I'm not doing it to work alongside people that inspire me. I'm not doing it to have some title behind my name anymore. So I would say it's a much more grounded spirituality because of what I went through and am still going through.
Thank you, Courtney, so much for sharing your courageousness with us in expressing for you how and why you made that transition. And I feel your journey is expressing what so many other people are currently experiencing, where the ideas of achievement and success and prestige and all of that I feel like subconsciously for so many were really driving the motivation. Now that the world has changed, it has caused a reevaluation of priorities and what's really important, and an expanded focus for people on what is health and how can we nurture and protect and support health. And so your insight is, you have such powerful insight in terms of you have felt for your life that your purpose is being a healer. And what's fascinating is stepping into and leaning into the situation and saying that I have to find a way has helped you fulfill your life's purpose in a way that maybe wasn't in a more accelerated way than maybe if those circumstances hadn't happened. And one of the things about you, Courtney, is you're very proactive in terms of assessing a situation and taking action steps and moving toward the solution. And one of the things that you shared earlier I feel is so powerful and important is you mentioned about this idea of honoring yourself. And so maybe you could share a little bit more about how, number one, people can come to understand who they are. Because I feel sometimes people are their own mystery, where it's easy to read other people, and then when it comes to themselves, they're just like, I don't know. And how they can honor their authentic self.
Yeah. Well, and maybe this isn't exactly the direction you were going, but I think your authentic self is closely linked to your life purpose. Because a lot of times when people are enlightened to one of those, it comes with both of those.
So true.
And I wouldn't say that it's the same thing as a career path, although some people do feel like they are the same. I don't believe they are the same. Your life purpose and your authentic self, or your true self, I think are closely related, if not one of the same, because I think it's sort of just that most freeing place within you, like when you feel like you're living without, maybe not without veils, but with less veils on yourself, less things that you're hiding from yourself or from the world with. And what you said about being proactive, it's just something, I've always sort of had this like bit of me that wants to be a perfectionist, and even in a spiritual sense, I'm always thinking like, okay, how can I like master this? How can I like become even more raw and more like, less veils? And so it's kind of like this challenge that I always have with myself. And even when things get super, super gnarly, I'm like, let's dig in more, like, let's keep going. And so, like, that's where I can sort of get to an ungrounded place sometimes. But I would say that it's like on that trail is a good way to be thinking for yourself, like, how can you keep growing? And when things feel like they get a little bit gnarly and the road gets a little bit twisty-turny, sometimes that's a good thing, because you're getting to something more real, like something that I've always said to myself over the years is I just want to become more and more myself. And if there's anything that's in the way, if there's any blockages in the way in my life that I don't want to see, I don't want to acknowledge, I don't want to deal with, come up and help me to heal it. And I mean, thank God for my family, because, that's a pretty big statement. It doesn't seem like it, but when that wish comes true, sometimes you wish you didn't ask for it, because stuff does come up. It really does come up. And thank God that I've had that support system to be able to really go super deep in my, in some of those challenges that came up. But, when your goal is that you want to live your life purpose, live your soul purpose, you don't have to go searching for it. You just have to have the intention that that's your goal and that you want to be the most you that you can be. So that's kind of a prayer that I've had for a long time. And any time that I feel something is coming up that I don't want to look at, or it's just like embarrassing, or I just get that sort of kind of feeling, you know, I try to lean into it because there's always something there, you know, and sometimes I feel that once I get through that, this is just my intuition, you know, kicking in at that time, but I feel like, okay, I hate this, I don't like this, but once I lean into this, it will clear that information and lead me to a more truer path down the road. It will open up new doors for me to become more myself. So that's what I've done with my health condition. That's what I've done with healing childhood traumas and things that I went through. I just let it come and continue to have that prayer every day, and I guess let go of this constant search thing. Spiritual people, a lot of times, they're constantly searching, and it's like life just teaches you. Life gives you. You don't have to go searching for it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, just let go of that constant feeling like you have to be doing something.
Right.
I would say.
To your point, that's something I feel like, especially in things like A Course in Miracles, it talks about the ego, right? And I feel like that's a lot of times what drives that is that sometimes we'll already have what it is that we desire, and something in us doesn't recognize it, doesn't feel worthy, whatever it is. And it reminds me what you were just saying, kind of the theme of The Wizard of Oz, right? That it's like so often we go searching and it's been right there all along. And the discovery is that aha moment of recognizing that. And what you just shared, Courtney, is so powerful about this idea of when it's most uncomfortable is we tend to distance ourselves, and the power of leaning in and inquiring and asking, what is this showing me? What is this teaching me? Exactly what you said, that so many people like yourself have shared that when you have the courage doing that, many times the situation that is so uncomfortable often begins dissolving. And it's counterintuitive, right? Because when something feels uncomfortable, our natural inclination is to go the other direction instead of leaning in. So what you just shared about that was such a powerful reminder.
Well, and the other thing too with the soul purpose, I just had something that popped in my mind, but this will be quick. I heard from a teacher of mine in the Qigong community, Master Katrina. She shared something really powerful about soul purpose that I want to share with all the listeners. I thought it was just absolutely brilliant. It was coming from a question about, what if I don't know what my soul purpose is? What if I have no idea what I'm living for? And she said that every person on this planet, every living being on this planet has a soul purpose, and you do know it. You don't have to go searching for it because you do know it. The way that you know it is because your body is living and breathing every day without you telling it what to do. You don't have to tell your lungs to breathe. You don't have to tell your heart to pump. You don't have to tell your legs to walk down the hall. They just do it. And so she was having us ponder, this question, what am I living for? I already know my soul purpose, which is to be here on this planet. and to, live a happy life, or whatever, insert whatever feels right to you. But what am I living for? And that kind of transformed everything for me. It leaves out that big black hole that most of us on the spiritual quest feel, which is like, okay, I'm here, I'm doing the work, but like, I have no idea what my soul purpose is. And that can bring a lot of anxiety for people. So I guess just to tag along to what I had previously said about you don't have to go searching, that's, to me, a great answer to that question.
Wow, that's so powerful. And it's so, I feel like what you were sharing, Courtney, about what makes your Qigong and meditation practice so important and significant is it helps you continue being versus this idea of doing, which I feel like is so ingrained in society. They even questions, it's like, it would be a strange question to ask somebody like, oh, how are you being today? We say, how are you doing? And it's this idea that we have to be productive and contributing and productive and successful. And there's all these definitions around that. Whereas what's fascinating is the spiritual masters and the people who have really, like yourself, really are investing the energy and the focus and the time in becoming your most authentic, truest self, or experiencing that. It already exists. Just having the experience of that are the ones who are often the most productive and successful and things like that in ways that the world would define it. And it's not the goal, right? And so what you were just sharing about that, just by living and breathing, that your body, that your essence already understands its soul purpose, and that being in a space of just being instead of doing allows you to more fully experience that.
Yeah, and I think the challenge for all of us is being able to entertain ourselves with just being, because we live in a very fast-paced world, and less so now because of the coronavirus, but I think it's like, how do we stay fulfilled in being without the doing? Maybe that's a question for,
really
the Buddhist
question.
monks or something, but, I feel like Buddhism, probably a lot of, if there's anybody that's Buddhist out there, probably has a better answer than I do, but, being able to have that contentment in doing nothing, just being, that's something that is harder said than done, for sure. That's probably a life's work, especially if you are not able to do the doing, if you have a chronic health condition or mental health condition, or any kind of suffering that there is in the world. And that's been my challenge too. Okay, so my life has been slowed down considerably, in the past couple of years. How am I able to maintain that level of connection, that level of peace, that level of happiness, if I'm not making contact with other human beings, or if I'm not doing the doing in the world? And we're all feeling that right now on a mass scale. This has never happened before. We're all having that sort of existential crisis, but there's a direction to it, and we have to listen to that direction instead of go against it. The world is changing. We're changing. How are we going to respond to it? You know, I think it's just, it's really, I feel like this time is really pointing us at a direction, and some people are listening, some people aren't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So much of what you're sharing, Courtney, is really based in the idea of acceptance and surrender. And those are things I feel for human beings in general are not easily mastered concepts in terms of actually putting them into practice. What for you is continues being most helpful in your own acceptance and surrendering, and what advice would you offer for other people, especially in present day, where things that offered a sense of stability, even though we know that essentially that's an illusion, that offered a sense of stability like career, like relationships, like home, like all of those things are shifting in ways that people feel exceed their control. And so for you, what has helped you accept and surrender, and what advice would you offer other people who are experiencing those circumstances right now where the only control they have is just what's going on within themselves?
Right. Yeah, well, first of all, I would say I'm trying to accept that the only thing I control is myself. But if I can control myself, then I'm able to respond to the things that are outside of myself. If I can't control myself, then whatever happens on the outside just makes me spiral. And I'm the kind of person that is very prone to anxiety, very prone to that sort of thing. So I have to just really, really work on controlling my inner environment. And I'm going to sound like a broken record with, saying Qigong, Qigong, Qigong to everything. But truly, that has been my thing. And I understand that it's not for everyone. It's not for every person that listens on this call. But maybe I would say inquire on what your personal practice could be. And it could be just a gratitude practice for every day. The opposite of fear is gratitude. If you spend every day in fear, which I'm not judging because that's 100% me. A lot of, before my practice, I was living 100% in fear and anxiety. So the opposite of fear is gratitude. Instead of weakening your kidney energy, you could be strengthening your kidney energy by practicing gratitude. So what I do every day, part of my practice every day, I do the Qigong 5-element healing movements. One of those movements is the gratitude one. So I just stand up, I put my hands in prayer position in front of my chest, and I bow, just from the waist up, just bow. And sometimes I like to do it in front of a candle, maybe in front of the window so I can see the trees outside, see the snow falling down. And with every bow, I, in my heart, silently say something that I'm grateful for. And so this is part of my practice, and I do it for 5-10 minutes. And so with each bow, and you do it, you just follow the rhythm of your breath. And I think about just something random. Sometimes I'm grateful for my carpet and how warm and soft it is. Sometimes I'm grateful that, my legs were strong enough to walk a couple miles today. Or sometimes I'm grateful for having a room to myself to practice, having a warm house and a loving family and friends. And I just think about all these things, and it's amazing that by the end of that 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you just feel like, wow, like I completely refocused the way that I looked at my life. You have challenges going on, and we all do. It's very easy just to be swirled up into those emotions of everything that's not going right. So that's one practice that I could recommend that people do every day, and it's more powerful than writing things down in a journal or just thinking about them, but actually getting up, moving your body, and doing that.
Oh, that's so helpful. Thank you for sharing with us that exercise, Courtney. That's really, really helpful and gives us something that we can immediately begin applying. And as you were sharing that, something came to mind, and it's an example many years ago that Tony Robbins shared about something he discovered with what they teach race car drivers. And they said that as human beings, we're naturally, instinctively inclined to look at where motion is propelling us. And they said they actually have to teach them that when things are spiraling, to direct their focus to where it is they would like to go and not actually where the vehicle is going. And I feel like what you just said so perfectly exemplified that, right, is that we have to make a commitment with ourselves that this is something that's important. And if it's something that's important, then like you've done, we make it part of our daily life. We make it a priority, and recognizing that we are the ones who ultimately have the opportunity in controlling our emotional and mental and spiritual focus. And that requires taking an action on our part. That I don't know that there's anybody on the planet who comes in just perfectly able to always focus their body and their mental and physical and spiritual energy. And so what you just shared, I feel like, is so important. And it's a very basic thing that people can do. Anyone can do what you just mentioned, right? And this idea of integrating it into your body versus, just having it be an idea, I feel like on a cellular level, activates that gratitude in a way that maybe just thinking about it doesn't.
Right. And the other part when you do the bowing is make sure that on the tips of your fingers, while you have your hands in prayer position, there's a little pressure at the tips of your fingers, and that will also activate the heart energy while you do it. So it's a very physical thing that we're doing, and you're absolutely 100% right with having an idea. My teacher says, all the wisdom in the world will do you no good if you don't put it into action. So putting it into action, getting up on your feet, doing your practice, whatever that is to you, that is an action step. And that's what's going to get you to where you want to be.
So important. And I feel, Courtney, you're such an excellent example in terms of you walk the talk, that it's not just something that you've read in books or had a teacher explain, that this is something that that you have a daily practice, that you actually do this and you can speak to the power that it has. As we conclude, Courtney, for people who would like to hear more of your teaching and the beautiful music that you create and all those sorts of things, what are the best ways people can connect with the excellent work that you're doing?
Sure. Well, I have a few ways that you can connect with me. If you want kind of place where you can find everything all at once, you can go to my website, which is CourtneyAmundson.com. There's links to my social media on there as well. But pretty much you can Google my name. You can find my YouTube channel. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. You can friend me there. I have a YouTube channel, as I mentioned, and I currently have 2 books out on Amazon, Teachings from God Book 1 and Teachings from God Book 2 as an ebook. So there's plenty of ways that you can find me, and I always love to meet new friends. So yeah, connect.
Yay. And I would highly recommend for anyone interested, definitely go to Amazon and get the books. We say so much, life doesn't have an instruction manual. I would say this comes very close to just offering really practical insight in terms of having a higher spiritual understanding of what's happening and why, and connecting with the self and connecting with God. And so I highly, highly recommend, if you have even an inkling of interest, definitely go to Amazon and get the books. And connect with Courtney on her multiple channels. She has some really powerful teaching and really, really gorgeous music that she creates. So definitely connect with her. Courtney, as we conclude, what for you has been maybe a powerful mantra or maybe advice a mentor has given you that you would be so kind to sharing with us?
Boy, it's hard to condense that all, but I think I would say just stay focused on finding your unique spark in your life. And it's so cliche, but don't try to be somebody else. There's a lot of people to admire in the world, and it's nice to be admired, but at the same time, you'll make the most impact in your life if you just follow the beat of your own drum and just try to tune into what makes you come alive, and don't worry about anybody else.
That makes so much sense. Courtney, you're so awesome. Thank you so much
you are too, Susan.
sharing your courageous journey. Oh, thank you, Courtney. And you're just such a powerhouse in that you walk the talk, you're disciplined, you're determined to just really fully experiencing yourself and fully experiencing life. And we're so grateful for your willingness sharing with us what you're learning, what works for you, and ways we can apply that in our own lives. And so thank you so very much, Courtney.
Thank you for having me on, Susan. We've been friends since 5 years ago. We just figured out you were my very first radio show, which is just amazing. And I've just really enjoyed being friends and sharing with your listeners as well our conversation. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much, Courtney. You are such a blessing. We're so grateful. Thank you. And thank you, listeners, for joining us here on YOUnique, Life Starring You. Remember, be kind, be love, be true, and be you.